Welcome to What's Your Fantasy? I'm Daisha,
I'm Michelle.
I'm Taylor.
and today we're talking about the erotic and pleasure.
We're going to start by explaining what the erotic is. And we found a couple definitions in Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. And one of the quotes begins with, "The erotic has often been misnamed by men and used against women." And this is just saying that the erotic has been taken from more of a sensual, intimate type of thing and turned into simply sexual. And she goes on later to say the erotic is a measure between the beginnings of our sense of self and the chaos of our strongest feeling. It is an internal sense of satisfaction to which, once we have experienced it, we know we can aspire. For having experienced the fullness of this depth of feeling and recognizing its power, in honor and self-respect, we can require no less of ourselves. And really what that's saying is that it's just a really intimate experience. That's pretty much what it is. And it's just dealing with, that's really it. And that is just dealing with your emotions and like your sense of feeling and your sense of being at the time, and it could even be a spiritual thing, but it's more than just sex.
And that was on page 54.
And that was on page 54. Amen, Pastor. And then we're going to talk about our personal experiences with the erotic. And for me personally, I don't agree with really any of the stuff that we've been learning about the erotic. I don't. I I feel like erotic is a sexual thing. I feel like the proper word for what they're describing is intimate. Um, and I'm not a scholar or anything, but that's just what I feel like. That's my definition. I don't think of when I'm listening to music and I'm really enjoying myself and when it kind of takes me to another place. I don't think of that as an erotic experience. I think of it as an intimate experience that I might be having with myself. And that's when I feel, um, when I have my most sensual experience. That's when I have my most spiritual experiences, is intimacy, not erotic.
Yeah, I agree completely. When I think of erotic, I think sexual. And when I think of intimacy, I think of a whole different level
I
to
see it
that.
as a connection,
Yeah,
like a connection between you and that
whatever
person
it
or
is.
thing. Yeah. What you gonna say?
Come on, what you say? You done started now. What is it? Erotic is when what, Chance?
Erotic girl.
Chance.
Okay. Yeah, play with. Um. Yeah. When I think of erotic, I think of like the S&M type stuff. I don't know why.
That's an
Like the bondage and stuff.
Oh,
Like for some
yeah.
reason, that's what pops up in my head. I think of like 50 Shades of Grey type stuff. I don't know why.
I don't even think of 50 Shades of Grey. I
Yeah.
think erotic is like, I just feel like erotic is highly sexualized.
Yeah, I think it's like,
And I think that this stuff that they're talking about is like, I feel like it's stretched. Like you're trying to take the definition of one word and make it into something it's not. Which I feel like it happens a lot in this class. Is like a lot of words are trying to be turned into something good when there has to be an existence of bad words. Like there has to be a hoe, there has to be an erotic, there has to be like bad sexual things. But it seems like everything in this class we try to turn and make it a positive thing, and that's not always the case. Everything is, it doesn't have to be positive. And I feel like there has to be, for every positive there has to be a negative. For the positive of intimacy, there's the negative of erotica. That's just how I feel. And I feel like we try to take everything and make it into a positive when that is not the case. Like we try to take the freak from being a negative to the positive, which it can be. Being a freak can be a positive thing, but most of the time being a freak is a negative thing, and I feel like that's okay. There, at some point in our lives, at some point in this world, there has to be a negative for every positive.
it's just like with the B word. People are trying to change it from something negative to like, I'm a bad B. Like, so,
Yeah, that's not positive. That's still a negative word. You're just trying to redefine it, and it can be positive in your book, but in actuality, it's not. And that's how we feel about that. And so with the readings, it's hard to support that with the readings because the readings feel like the scholars and everybody who does research on this feel like the erotic is this great sensual experience, but we don't agree with that. We feel like exactly what we said, that erotic versus intimacy, one is They're like polar opposites. One is
One's
sensual and
one's
one's
sexual.
physical, sexual. So I don't know, there are some parts of the reading that speak about the physical ways the erotic can affect you. Like, I can't remember which reading it was, but there was one reading, I'm not going through that whole thing, but there was one reading that talked about how whoever was writing it said that she would listen to music and the music would take her to another place. It wasn't?
Mm-hmm. That was last week's readings.
Well, whatever reading it was. And she said that the music would take her to a different place. And that's a physical thing. And she called that erotic. And I would define that as intimate. So, I mean, there's nothing in the reading really backs us up.
I think of, like, for music, I don't think of it as intimate or erotic. I think of it as pleasurable. I take pleasure in listening to music. Like, it's just something that soothes me. Yeah. It takes me from a bad place to a good place, from a good place to a bad place. You never know.
I changed my mind. I like what they just said. It's not intimate, it's pleasure. I changed my mind.
I still like intimate.
I find it.
Good for you, Tater Tot.
I feel like it depends on the setting too.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to music by myself, it could be pleasurable. But if I'm listening to music with someone else and we're connecting emotionally, mostly because of the atmosphere set by that music, that can be intimate.
Well, it doesn't even doesn't even have to be with two people. It could be with just yourself. You're just taking your time to be with yourself and learn yourself and enjoy being just by yourself, and that can be intimate as well.
I agree with Taylor too.
I don't know what I feel.
I don't know what to feel. Okay. They just take us out.
Okay, so our ending quote is, I think that pleasure is a very difficult behavior. It is not as simple as that to enjoy oneself. And I must say, that's my dream.
We just want to enjoy ourselves. We just want to feel pleasure. Not as much as she did, but I do want to enjoy. She says she wants to die. That's what she wants. I don't want that.
I like my life.
I want to be able to feel pleasure and live through it. So, all right. That's What's Your Fantasy.
Bye.
Ciao, Bella. Oh, shoot.